I call Claire Curran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a very simple bill. It's a very simple bill. It's very straightforward. It's a very common sense bill. And it's a bill that fixes an anomaly and takes us in an important direction, which this government that just got up and opposed this very simple common sense bill says that it's headed in the direction of, but actually isn't. And I think this is a classic example of paying lip service to democracy. And in fact, one could go as far as saying that it's actually faux democracy, F-A-U-X. Mr. Speaker, the Official Information Act is one of the incredibly important mechanisms that this government has, that this Parliament has, that this country has for democratic accountability and for public information to be made available. And unfortunately, the refusal by this government to allow this bill to go forward to select committee is really just putting a big block in the face of that. It's actually blocking transparency. It's actually impacts on New Zealand's integrity and international reputation. We supposedly pride ourselves on being a first world nation, a democracy based on the Westminster system that holds accountability and the ability for public information to be made available in high regard. Well, I think there's something drastically wrong in our system, and that member talked about a slippery slope. Well, this is a slippery slope, which is anti-democracy. And I'd like to remind the government that in 2013, the then Justice Minister, Judith Collins, made an announcement around improving the legislation and processes that govern the openness and transparency of public agencies in her initial response to the recommendations in the Law Commission's review of the Official Information Act and the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987. Well, 2 years on, where are we? 2 years on, where are we on the recommendations with the improvements to the Privacy Act? We're no further on. And I'd also like to remind the government that they signed us up to the Open Government Partnership and put forward an action plan between 2014 and 2016, which actually compared very unfavourably with the other OGP members. The average number of actions in their commitments were 41. In New Zealand's commitment, the number of commitments we have are 4, and 2 of them are pre-existing government policies, and it has been described as being the least ambitious. But one of those commitments was to look at the 60 recommendations in the Transparency International New Zealand 2013 National Integrity System Assessment Report. And one of those commitments was to look at the introduction of systematic, proactive release of official information and the promotion of enhanced compliance with and understanding of the Official Information Act. Well, Mr. Speaker, I would say that what this government is doing today is completely taking the opposite. They're saying one thing, they speak out of both sides of their mouth. On the one hand, they say they're committed to transparency and open government, sign us up to these commitments, but the reality is that they're not interested in making more information available to the public. The appointment of an Under-Secretary is a function that should be able to be scrutinised under the Official Information Act. There should be information available, and unfortunately this government does not practice what it preaches.
I call David Seymour.